Hello everybody, I'm Marianne, I'm the founder of Naturally Wella, and this is my Thursday Thinks, which we do every Thursday at 8:30 on Instagram as well as on the Facebook page and in the Facebook group. So thank you for joining me. If you are, let me know in the comments below saying hello, and if you're watching on replay, put hashtag replay, hi. So today's topic is horses, sheaths and udders. Okay, so it's not something that most people think or talk about. It's probably a subject that most people would shy away from just for the fact that it's that sort of area and that sort of topic. But I've noticed that it's becoming more and more of a thing these days. I mean, you got professional udder and sheath cleaners, which, you know, if you can get, if people would pay you for it, why not do it? Do it, go on. But why not do it yourself? And why should you do it yourself? I mean, what's the benefits? Does it do any harm? Does it do any good? So this is all from my point of view, from my experiences. But I'm hoping that I can give you some insights, or that it will cause you to ask your own questions of yourself, or even other people around you, or even of me. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll keep an eye and I'll answer any questions that I can. So if I start with sheaths first, so that's the boys' bits. That's where his winkle is hiding when it's not hanging out. And yes, I did use the word winkle. I would probably use it. That's just who I am. That's my phraseology. If you don't like it, use whatever word you like. We're all different. It's how we roll. But it's something that I've always done since I have had the major. And I've found that it benefits him. Now, I know that there's arguments against it, and I know there's arguments for it. So the argument against it is that in the wild, there's no stallions getting their sheaths cleaned. It just doesn't happen. But in captivity, as you would say, or you could say, people are starting to do it. Now, if you think about it though, stallions are mating with mares once a year, which I know it sounds gross, but it cleans gets all the debris off when he's doing his business, which doesn't happen when he's, say, peeing or something. So it naturally gets cleaned probably about once a year if he's, a breeding stallion, which, is quite likely to happen. But in captivity, being owned, if they're not stallions, if they are geldings, then there's nothing really to clean it. And I've seen some horrific looking winkles hanging out there covered in stuff, and you think that can't be comfortable for you, buddy. I mean, you don't want crusty bits around your own bits, so why would your horse be any different? Now, obviously, if you've got a stallion and he's breeding, then it's probably not something you want to do. I mean, there's even research to say that cleaning a stallion sheath is not the best idea because it reduces the fertility levels, something to do with the bacteria acting with the sperm or something. I didn't read into it too much because I don't have a stallion and I'm not into breeding. But if you are, it might be something to look into. But I've heard that people are cleaning sheaths sometimes several times a day, which I think is excessive. But that's just my opinion. If you do different, let me know. But for my boys, they probably only get them cleaned 2, maybe 3 times a year. And that seems to be enough for them. Now, how do I know that? Well, I keep an eye on them, and ooh, the dog got upset. He must have seen the cat. Right, so 2, maybe 3 times a year. Now, I keep an eye on them, and they tell me now when they want it doing. Initially, they didn't, but once they started to see the benefits of it, they started to ask for it. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, when it comes to the major, he's quite shy. He holds it in. Even when he's peeing, it's still very high up in his sheath, and it's probably not the best for him health-wise, but that's what he does. So I know that if he's coming around me and he's dropping it out and I can see it, he's going, "Mum, look, it's dirty. Mum, look, it's dirty, clean it. Or if it's Egypt, he gets me to scratch his belly button or right in front of his sheath or even on his sheath. And that's how he tells me that he needs his cleaning. Now, initially the idea of doing this was something that I found quite cringeworthy. Now, I was quite a bit younger at the time and I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I didn't have any equipment with me. I just started rummaging around the Major's winkle going, we need to get this clean, and then going, oh my God, my hands smell, because it does, it stinks. Especially the Major, he's got quite a distinctive scent to him, just his whole body, and it's all concentrated in that area. But now that I've developed my understanding and technique, if you would, I have rubber gloves, which are disposable rubber gloves, which I hate the idea of using disposable rubber gloves, but it's not something that I can use something reusable for currently. I haven't found a product that is reusable in that way, and if I come across it, then I'll definitely do it. But at the moment, because I do it so few times a year, I don't feel as bad about it. So I have disposable rubber gloves, which I make sure that don't cross-contaminate between the horses, because gross, as well as bad for infections and all sorts of other nasties. And I also use baby oil. Now, I know that some people use water or special sheath cleaning liquids, lotions and potions, and if those work for your horse, fantabulous. But this is what's worked for mine, going the way that I do. And initially I didn't get it right, and I caused a bit of inflammation in the Major's sheath for a couple of days. But over time, my technique has changed. And now as soon as the boys see the rubber gloves and the baby oil, it comes flying out. Yeah, do me. Come on, clean it. It's dirty. Get your hands on it, Mum. And it's absolutely amazing, especially for Egypt. You should see when I'm cleaning it, he's like, yes, oh yes. Whereas the Major's a bit more reserved, he's like, yes. And because I've made it so that it's, excuse the expression, but an enjoyable experience for them, they're willing to allow me to do it. Now, the hardest thing, you can clean the outside, you can clean the whole sheath as it is, because the inside of the sheath's got so many layers of skin, and there's always gunk between the various layers, and it can be an involved procedure. And the amount of stuff that's on the floor from inside their sheath once you've cleaned it is just astonishing. And yes, you do get baby oil everywhere, and you inevitably get some of it up your arm or on your face because you flicked your hair out your way, and after you've done it you've realised what was on your hands at the time. But this is where I'm coming from. So initially that's all I ever did, especially when Egypt was young. That's all I did. I wipe some baby oil with some rubber gloves on around the outside of his sheath, and so you get used to me touching the area, because it actually is a big show of trust on their part. I mean, it'd be a big show of trust on your part to let somebody that doesn't technically speak your language touch a very delicate, sensitive area, and it's the same for them. It's a big show of trust, and it's something that I have developed with Egypt. And when I first started with the Major, it was something that I just took advantage of. I was like, yep, we're doing this today, buddy, get it out. Whereas I've worked Egypt up, so whilst the Major is more reserved about, yes, this needs doing, and yes, this is a good idea, Egypt's just like, come on, Mum, let's do this, which is amazing. So I started him off with just scratching the area around, so he got used to me being around his sheath. Then I worked into rubber gloves with a little bit of baby oil, run my hands around the opening, and over time and sessions that you do, you just get further in, and then they start dropping it out, going, oh, this is amazing. And me and Egypt have come to a little bit of a sticking point, because the areas where the beans usually are in around the urethra, because they got a pocket just by the urethra, which is where all of the gunk, I think it's smeg. I don't like the word, so I won't use it that often, but it's the technical word, is smeg. It collects and causes these beans, which can be anything from just tiny to really quite substantial. And it's those that you mostly are trying to get out. And those are some of the hardest ones because you're in a really delicate area and you got to be so careful so that you don't upset them. Now, in the first time that I went in there with Egypt, I upset him so much that the next time I went near him with the gloves and things, he was very reserved about letting me do anything. So it's something that we've worked up back up towards. And he now has quite a large bean in that pocket that I'm not going to ruin our relationship by trying to get it out. I tried the best that I could without upsetting him. And I went, nope, I'm not going to push this any further. Next time the vet comes out for any reason, I'm having you sedated and we'll take it out that way. Because it is just that big. And these things don't come out on their own generally, which means that that's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, which means that it can be very uncomfortable for him. I mean, you imagine a lump of debris in that area, you're going to be a bit, uncomfortable peeing, let alone anything else, which is why some male horses can be quite grumpy and some things. I mean, if you think of that pressure and you think of somebody sat on your back and it's not the best. And I know a friend who has recently had her horse's sheath been tended to, and he's so much happier for it. And I've seen the difference in him. He's gone from do we have to yeah, all right. And it's just amazing. And it's something that I know is becoming more and more widely known, that these beans are there and they need taking out, and it does make a difference. But I'm not sure why people aren't doing it. I mean, is it because of concern that they don't know what they're doing in the area? Is it shame of having to, or embarrassment of having to touch that area on your own horse? Or you're concerned or embarrassed what if somebody sees you? Whereas I'm there under my boy with my gloves halfway up him with the mailman going, "You're right, love, where do you want your parcel?" I'm just like, over there. I'm just a different type of person, I suppose. Not much really embarrasses me these days. So when it comes to my boys, that's why I do what I do. And it, as I say, it is only usually twice a year. So I generally do it sort of like midwinter before it gets too cold. That's generally when they ask me to do it, because that's when they start to get mud flicked up in there, which means it gets just that bit dirtier, that bit faster. And then it gets done it probably gets done twice over the autumn winter months, just because the amount of dirt does get flicked up into the area. I could be wrong. I don't really mark it down on the calendar. I don't go, clean the boys' shoes today. It's not what happens. But I then get it again. Then next time I do it probably is just at the start of spring, because it is quite a smelly area. And if I don't do it at the start of spring when they're asking for it, they tend to attract more flies. So for their own comfort, I do it again when they ask me to. But it's generally that sort of timing. So they're telling me when they need doing. And I think it's quite sensible when they're asking for it to be done. So, and the third time just slits in somewhere. I get the feeling or recognition in my brain that it's more often over the autumn winter months, but I don't think it's more than 3 times a year max for me. And that's what my boys are comfortable with. I mean, if you've got a gelding, you might start to see signs of him wanting it done more. He might only want it done once a year, or not even that. But it depends on what their bodies produce, I suppose, and what their susceptibility is to these beans and the dirt. So that's my thoughts on sheath cleaning for boys, and it's only just recently come up because of having done the major in Egypt and finding that big bean in Egypt, and I'm having to get the vet out, and she came out to check his lungs anyway, but she said, I'm not comfortable sedating him at this time. That's because the hay was in the middle of being made, which means there was a lot of allergens in the air, which meant his lungs were having to work a bit harder. It's probably not best to sedate him in that sort of condition, so we've agreed we'll do it in a few months' time when, you know, summer is starting to wind down, it's not as hot, and yeah, his lungs will be happier. If you want to know more about Egypt's lungs and his seasonal asthma, join me in the Facebook group. I do put bits of updates in there about foals, so join me in there. But when it comes to the girls' udders or teats or nipples, whatever you call them, I don't think many people think about cleaning them either. Now, I may be wrong and I'm talking to the wrong people. I don't know. But I get the feeling that many people do. Now, they don't have beans like the boys do, but they do get dirty. And it depends, I think, on the build of the girl as well. I mean, when I had the grey lady, she'd had foals, so her teats were a bit longer, and the way she was built, because she was also compact and tiny, they were very close together, which means that when dirt got up between them, it got quite dirty and uncomfortable for her. So once I twigged to what she was asking me, I started to clean her on a regular basis, which she was very, very happy with and actually thankful for. I mean, ladies, if you've got the bigger boobs, which I don't have, no, I don't have, but I've heard that, you know, it's uncomfortable if anything gets down the middle or underneath, and it's the same sort of principle, I suppose. They get the dirt from charging around, and it gets, you know, dirt up there, and just general skin exfoliation, dead skin cells falling off. It collects between 2 points because it can't come out. Now, when it gets to midnight, however, yes, she's had foals, but her teats are actually further apart. She's built differently than how the grey lady was. So she doesn't generally get that much in the middle, caught in the middle. But she does enjoy the area still being clean. I don't know if it makes her feel refreshed or what it is, but I know that her actual teats get crusty, they get dry, which makes her itchy, which makes her grumpy. So in cleaning the area, I moisturise the area. In fact, I have udder cream for her, which is actually used for cows, and I rub some moisture in there, and the look on her face when I'm doing it is just like, oh, yeah, that's good. And you're like, wow, I've given you a bit of relief. And in cleaning the area and then moisturising the area, there are a lot less flies, which is why I think she enjoys it mostly in the summer months. Now, I will check to see if she needs it doing through the winter as well. And they probably get done about the same amount of time, or same occasions as the boys do. I generally do an entire herd at the same time, or the boys need their teats, their sheaths cleaning, so I'll do the girls' udders at the same time. While I've got, you know, the equipment out, or if it's all in the same box, I may as well do. So I do. Now, when it comes to my girl Pagan, she is a little bit more of a different kettle of fish because she hasn't had foals. Her teats are actually quite small, but she does get quite a lot of gunk in the middle. Now, it's crusty and it's not comfortable for her, but she's also starting her first season, so she doesn't like the area being touched that often, so I have to be careful when I do it. But it also benefits her the same as it does midnight, because once I've cleaned the area out, she has a lot less flies around her, and she's a lot more comfortable with the area as well, because it's not crusty. Because while she doesn't get as crusty as midnight does, her teats do get just that little bit dry, so again I moisturise them. Now, with the boys, obviously I used baby oil, and in the past I have used just baby wipes on the girls because that's all they seem to need. However, Pagan has thrown a spanner in those works because she doesn't like it anymore. I don't know if it's because there's not enough moisture in them, so it just feels as though I'm rubbing this crustiness on her skin, which is probably not the best feeling. So this time round, I also, what did I use? I used a bit of warm water, and that went down a storm. And in the past, I've also used baby oil, and that again has gone down the storm. So I think that's shown me that I need to change my technique with girls, in the fact that I needed something just a little bit more moist. So actually, I think this last time I did the baby oil, the time before that I tried the water. But the water, I think I got annoyed with because I thought it didn't do enough for my liking. So then I tried the baby oil last time, that I'm with you. And I tried the baby oil, and it added an extra protection onto the skin as well, so the flies kept even away for just that bit longer, and it moisturised the skin. Now I know baby oil isn't technically moisturising, it just creates a film on the surface, but it was enough for my girls to be happy. So whilst Pagan has fluctuated in her happiness of me cleaning her udders and tending to her dry teats, it's something that I still do, and something they still benefit from. Now, if you think in the wild, mares would generally have a foal at foot majority of the year, which means that for several months out of the year, they're feeding them, which means the babies are actually cleaning their teats for them, you know, knocking off any crusty bits or moisturising the teats because they're feeding on them. So in the wild, they wouldn't have these issues, but in captivity with humans, they do. So it's something that we've caused. So I feel as though I've got to resolve that, which is what I'm doing. And the herd are really, really appreciating it. Now, I know I haven't mentioned Spring yet. Spring is my miniature Shetland. Now, her teats and udders are they're still tiny, and they're just so adorable. And it's taken her a while for her to be comfortable for me to get into the area and to tend to it. Now, similar to Egypt, I've been very, very slow in the process. It's just been a case of, are you okay with me scratching your belly button? Are you okay with me scratching further back? And so on and so forth, until she's been happy for me to touch her udders or teats. And then, are you okay with me touching it with something on my hand? Are you okay with me touching it with something on my hand and something on the glove? And it's something that we've got to. And even though she's tiny and her udders are tiny, she still gets crustiness between them. But it's such a shorter job because there's not much to deal with. So I still do her, but it only takes me all of 30 seconds, and it's done, and she's happy, and again she has less flies around her. But it's something that I still do 2 to 3 times a year, and that's enough for me and for them. Their bodies can go back to their normal functions and start the process all over again, and then by the time it's got to a point where they're uncomfortable, I'm there to help again. So whilst it's not something that is natural that I'm doing for them, it is something that they're asking for, and it's providing them with comfort. And as I said, it's more or less something that we've caused them, so I'm just solving the problem. So let me know in the comments below if you clean your horse's sheaths or udders, depending on what they have. If you don't, why not? If you do, awesome. What's your reasoning behind it? I'd love for you to let me know. I'd love to hear everybody else's opinions and experiences on these things, because obviously I only know what I know and I've only experienced what I've experienced. So I'm really interested. Let me know in the comments. So I think that's my topic for today. I hope you'll join me for my next Thursday Thinks next Thursday at 8:30 UK time. In the meantime, check out the Facebook page and the Facebook group. Also, check us out on Instagram for virtually daily updates on the entire herd. I have 5 of the souls, so there's plenty for you to keep up with and interact with. Also, this YouTube channel, check us out over there, where there's a whole archive of Thursday Things, as well as other videos about naturally keeping your horse, paddock paradise track systems, what I'm doing with my land to create ecosystems so that it sustains itself naturally, doing the things that most people do extra work for. I'm trying to get it to do it itself. So check us out over there. Again, it's called Naturally Willa, so make sure you subscribe and click the little bell icon so you get a notification every time the video comes up. The 13 Things come up on there every Friday, and my other videos will be on there every Wednesday, so there's something there twice a week for you. And I will let you know about Monday, Tuesday time of my next topic for my Thursday Things. Let me know if you want invites to my Thursday Things, and I'll make sure to send them to you so you'll always know the topic and you can join us live. And I will see you all next week. Thank you, everybody. Bye.